Maximize your results. Less time, more impact. It's time to get well, stay strong, and thrive. Let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Busy Pro Fast Wellness. And today is episode 100. And I have to say that when I recorded episode 1, I just thought I was creating a podcast. And 100 episodes later, I have firmly come to the conclusion that in essence, I was really refining a philosophy, which I realise sounds ridiculously grand and, really incredibly pompous. But please allow me to explain why I say this. Because when I started, I wasn't really setting out to become an expert. And I hasten to add that I am still no expert for sure. But my rationale was to explore ideas that I thought could help busy professionals to become healthier, happier, and more effective. And I also wanted to learn from people who were way further along that path than me. And I wanted to ask effective questions and share whatever I gleaned from them, those things that I discovered along the way, so that I could help others basically. But what I didn't expect was how much those conversations would indeed change me in the process. And over the last 100 episodes, I've had the privilege of speaking with doctors, psychologists, neuroscientists, elite performers, entrepreneurs, coaches, and thought leaders from around the world. And many of these people, or some of them at least, are also podcasters themselves. So I've spent countless hours reading, reflecting, and testing these ideas in my own life. And gradually, something interesting happened. I stopped collecting ideas and I started curating principles. Not every new tip, productivity hack, or idea stood the test of time. But it's all a question of trial and error, experimentation. What works, you keep. What doesn't, you improve or you throw out. But similarly, if you hearken back, or if you go back to the earlier episodes, especially the first maybe 50 or 60, I did many exercises with meditation and breathing, etc. And I don't use every physical exercise because some of them were very physical. They were movement-based too. But I don't use those ones that I've spoken about. I use the ones that work for me, just those ones. So it's, again, trying out things and seeing what really kind of resonates with you. It's always a case of finding the exercises or the tips or the suggestions that give you the biggest return for the least amount of time or effort. And what I noticed is that a handful of those ideas just kept resurfacing regardless of who I was talking to. It could be on the main core ideas, the pillar ideas of to do with movement, or to do with sleep, or to do with nutrition or exercise. But those ideas became a philosophy in their own way. Because one of the biggest lessons has been surprisingly simple. For years, like many people, and I've mentioned this on so many podcasts, my mind was just scattered noise. I had too many ideas and I had too many opinions. And certainly the tendency was to try and do too many things that I thought I ought to be doing. But over time, I realized that I didn't need more information. I needed more clarity. And clarity came through simplicity. The simpler my systems, the easier they were to repeat. The easier they were to repeat, the more consistent I became. And consistency quietly achieved what motivation never could. And we all know that when you have that sudden surge of motivation, you feel you can achieve anything, but then the motivation often just wanes off, which is why that simplicity is kind of crucial to keep that repetition of systems. So somewhere along the line, I also stopped worrying about what other people thought as well. I stopped trying to impress. I became much more comfortable simply sharing what I genuinely believe. And there is so much freedom in that. That approach just really pays dividends. Ironically, I think the podcast became better the moment I stopped trying to make it perfect. I don't edit anymore, very rarely if I have to, but I just keep in all the ums, the ers, and we've talked about that in other podcasts as well with a particular guest. But looking back now, I realised that the philosophy I've been refining is not really about wellness at all, which is slightly unfortunate because I have wellness in the title, and there is an element of wellness, of course, in what I do, but I think in some ways it could be just slightly misrepresentative. But of course, I in hindsight, I would change the title, but it's obviously too late now. I'm running with it. So, and also, for me, it's not even about performance. It's about creating the conditions that allow us to perform well, to perform consistently, without sacrificing the rest of our lives in the process. And for me, that means living with integrity, choosing kindness, remaining curious, continuing to grow, and sharing that journey with you in the hope that it improves someone else's life, while, of course, improving my own life at the same time. And it certainly has. Wow. What amazing breakthrough and improvement over those last 2 years. So, if I had to summarize 100 episodes into a single thought, it would be this. The simpler your systems, the clearer your thinking. The clearer your thinking, the more sustainable your performance. And that belief is shaping everything I do now. It's influencing my work, my speaking, my teaching, and even my music. It's why I'm excited to experiment with new ideas, with new ways of bringing you along on that journey with me over the next coming months. And it's also why I'm taking a few weeks off, which sounds a bit ironic. This is the final episode of August. And it's not because I need to escape from the work of getting the episodes of the podcasts out, but because I believe the philosophy that I espouse, I should also live. Not just talk about it. So August will be a chance for me to recharge, to read more, to play more music, to spend more time on my bike, to get out into nature more, to go to concerts, to socialise with good friends that I have here. So I also, aside from all that, which sounds like a long list, but it's all a list of wholesome activities, I want to experiment with a couple of new ideas that I hope you'll enjoy when the podcast returns. So the next chapter is already beginning to take shape. I've already recorded a few fantastic conversations that I can't wait to share with you, and I genuinely believe the next 100 episodes will be even more focused and even more valuable than the first 100, which I hope were pretty valuable. Before I finish, I'd like to thank you. Whether you've listened to one episode or all 100 of them, thank you for giving me something incredibly precious, your time. And just like my own time, I never take your time for granted. So here is my promise. The next 100 episodes won't be about doing more. They'll be about helping busy professionals build lives that are simpler, clearer, and more sustainable. Lives where high performance doesn't come at the expense of health, where ambition and well-being can work together, and where success is measured not by just the things you achieve, but by the quality of the lives we're living ourselves along the way. Thank you for being part of this journey. Have a wonderful August. Keep looking after yourselves. Keep learning. Keep simplifying. And I'll be returning on September the 6th for the next chapter of Busy Pro Fast Wellness. Goodbye for now.